Hi everyone and welcome to another day of purposeful and empowering learning with me, Teacher Louie. So today we're going to discuss about lesson 9 or module 9 in practical research in daily life 2. So I hope that by now you already have your research title and that you already have identified your research problems. So lesson 9 or module 9 in practical research in daily life 2 is about quantitative research design, sample size and sampling procedures. So let's define first what quantitative research design. Quantitative research design is the overarching method you adopt to combine the various components of the study in a logical and cohesive manner, ensuring that you will effectively address the research problem. It is the blueprint of data collecting, measurement, and analysis. So it means design will serve as your guide in what procedure or methods you will be applying in your particular research study. There are three categories of quantitative research designs. These are exploratory, descriptive, and causal. So we're going to discuss each one of them. So when you say exploratory research design, it is it is used when it is essential to comprehend the broad nature of the problem, identify feasible solutions, and identify relevant variables. Typically, the amount of data used as the foundation for research publications is little, since the researcher often starts working without a clear notion of what information he or she can gather. Data collection methods should be flexible and unstructured. The primary goal of such research is to find new ideas and hypotheses and comprehend the issue. Its main advantage is concretizing general and ambiguous problem definitions by reducing them to succinct working hypotheses. So, from the word itself, explore, no, it means that little has been known about that particular research topic, so it has to be explored yet. As a researcher doing exploratory research design, you have to be flexible and unstructured because you don't know what you will get out of that data. So you have to be flexible. So the second category of research design is descriptive. Descriptive is the process of carefully defining and studying traits, attributes, or characteristics of something. It consists of numerical descriptions describing the size, location, and frequency of the investigated object. It enables researchers to investigate individuals in a natural setting. It entails describing the behavior of persons who have been chosen as participants in the research process. So from the word itself, describe, so you're going to describe a certain attributes or traits or characteristics of a population. So you are just simply describing them, their opinion on something, and etc. So here, you're going to describe the behavior of persons that you have chosen to be part of your research study. So for descriptive research design, it can be classified further into three: the survey, correlation, and evaluation. So survey descriptive quantitative research design is an approach that comprises a thorough explanation of subject or issue. The survey is a technique for gathering a large amount of data about a specific topic or subject. It is to collect information about people's opinion on the subject directly. Questionnaires, telephonic, and personal interviews are all approaches that can be used to survey descriptive research. In general, open ended questions are included in a questionnaire in descriptive investigations. So, I believe you already have experience answering a survey questionnaire, and usually it has items wherein you're going to check or take a certain column that will show your opinion on something. So, that is a survey descriptive research design. It can gather a large amount of data because all you need to do as the researcher is you just need to reproduce, print survey questionnaires and distribute them to a certain group of people. No? Next classification of descriptive research design is correlation. It is frequently used in observational studies. Researchers collect data on an occurrence and try to link it to other variables. So you want to know whether this particular variable has got something to do with another variable, or if it has a significant relationship um, with the other variables. So, for example, you want to know whether male students perform well in class than female students. So, that is correlation. You're trying to determine its significant relationship between two variables. The third category of descriptive research design is called evaluation. Evaluation research, often known as program review, is a popular research strategy that comprises a controlled evaluation of the worth of resources allocated to a project or a specified aim. It frequently uses social research methods to obtain and analyze meaningful information on organizational processes and products. So, you use evaluation research design when if you want to know whether a particular program is effective or not. So let's say the program, the K to 12 program, if you want to know whether the program is effective, evaluation research design can be of use. Okay, so the third or the last category of quantitative research design is causal. So first we have the exploratory, then we have descriptive, and the third one is causal. So causal research examines whether there is a cause and effect link between two dissimilar situations. Researchers rather design experiments to obtain statistical proof of the connection between the conditions because many different factors can contribute to cause and effect. They usually evaluate the data after that to figure out why the link formed, learn more about how it works, and see how it might apply in a bigger context. They can also change the first situation's circumstances to see whether there are any new consequences on the second. So the difference between causal and correlation is that correlation only tries to determine significant relationship between two variables. So if there is a relationship between the two, so the answer might be yes or no. For causal, you want to determine whether there is the cause and effect relationship. So that's what makes causal different from correlation, because in correlation you're not going to identify the cause and effect relationship, but only if there is a significant relationship. So for causal, you're going to identify the link between two different situations and identify their cause and effect. Now, since you already know the three kinds of quantitative research design, and since you already have, let's say, you already have identified which of these designs is appropriate in your particular research study, the question now is how do we choose the respondents in our study? No, so when you say respondents, these are the people who will give relevant information about your research problem. So, how do we choose them? Are we going to include everyone in the population? So, if so, it would be very costly and time consuming. So, in research, we don't include everyone, but we identify the sample size. Sample um, size is the number of participants included in a research project. It is a group of people chosen from the general population and considered representative of the entire population for that particular study. So it means that you will just simply get a portion of that population. So you will not include everyone. And that portion of the population will represent the entire population. So why include everyone when you can get the same answer, or is more or less the same answer, by just simply getting the sample size? Now the question is, how do we get the sample size, or how do we determine the sample size? So by the use of Slovin's formula. So you have there the formula. The capital letter N stands for the population size. So you have divided by 1 plus the population size and the margin of error. So here, the margin of error you can range from 5% to 1%. So you can choose between 5 to 1. So you just have to do it. So you identify the population first, divided by 1 plus the population again, and then let's say 5% multiplied by itself because it's squared, no, and so on. Then, once you get the number of sample size, the next question would be, how do we choose respondents in the sample? No? So, paunsa man nato pagpili ang atong mga respondents base sa sample nga atong nakuha, the number of respondents in the sample. So there are actually two sampling procedures: the probability and the non-probability sampling procedure. So for probability, the first one is simple random sampling. So when you say simple random sampling, you just ignore what is written on the screen that is supposedly be simple. So for simple random sampling, what you're going to do is you're going to list down all the participants, all the possible participants, and then put them inside a hat. No, just like what we do in a Christmas party when we choose our manyanita and manyanito. So we usually put all the names inside a hat, and then whoever you pick will be part of that research study. So that is what we call simple. Again, it's not systematic, but simple random sampling. The second probability sampling procedure is called systematic random sampling. So for the systematic random sampling, what you're going to do is you're going to choose the nth number of the list. So you're going to list all the possible participants. Let's say you will choose every five or every fifth number in the list. So whoever is on that list will be included in your research study. So 5, 10, 15, 20, and so on. So that is what we mean by systematic random sampling. The third probability sampling procedure is called stratified sampling. So you're going to split the population into groups. No? So you have there, let's say there are four groups here. Then each stratum is the same within. So it has to be they should be grouped accordingly. And each stratum is different between. So each stratum should be different from each other. So take stratified random sampling from each stratum. So stratified, you go back to, let's say, the every fifth number in the on the list. So be careful. You can have more than one of the same strata. So that's what we mean by stratified random sampling. Next is cluster sampling, and it's the last sampling procedure in probability sampling. So when you say cluster sampling, it's defined as a sampling technique in which the population is divided into already existing groups. Then a sample of the cluster is selected randomly from the population. The term cluster refers to a natural but heterogeneous intact grouping of the members of the population. So the most common variables used in the clustering population are geographical area, building, school, etc. So it means you're going to cluster your respondents, let's say by area or by school or by group. No, so that is what we mean by the word cluster. So you're going to form a group in which you're going to form a group that is, let's say, located in one place, and then another group in another place. So that is, or those are the types of sampling procedures in probability sampling procedure. Now, for non-probability sampling procedure, there are also four which you can choose from. First, we have the convenience sampling. So as you can see, the first one on the bottom is you, the researcher, and you will only choose participants that is convenient for you. So those that are, let's say, nearer in terms of geographical location. So that is convenient. That's why it's called convenience sampling, because you will choose respondents that is convenient for you. kanang dali ra para nimo. And that is non-probability sampling. The second type of non-probability sampling procedure is the snowball sampling. So you have there the bald one is the researcher. Then this particular researcher knows only two respondents who can give him or her the relevant information or data. So these two respondents may have known someone or groups of people who can also provide relevant information. And then this group of people also know someone who can also provide relevant information to the researcher. So that is what we call snowball. No, so from one person to another, and then this person refers you to another group of respondents, and that is snowball sampling procedure. The next one is purposive sampling. Studying deviant cases, researchers often gain better understanding of regular patterns of behavior. This is where purposive sampling often takes place. So, for instance, if a researcher is interested in learning more about students at the top of their class, then for purposive sampling, you're going to choose only those students who are at the top of the class category. So that's why it's called purposive. You have a certain purpose. So you only want to include people who meet this particular criteria. So that is what we mean by purposive sampling. Then the last one in non-probability sampling procedure is quota sampling. Quota sampling is a procedure that restricts the selection of the sample by controlling the number of respondents by one or more criterion. The restriction generally involves quotas regarding respondents' demographic characteristics, specific attitudes, or specific behaviors. These quotas are assigned in a way that there remains similarity between quotas and populations with respect to the characteristics of interest. So let's say you have a certain quota or number of respondents for male and a certain quota for female respondents. So you have to have that number of participants. That's why it's called quota. Okay, so those are what we need to learn about research design, about sampling procedures, and the sample size. So in your module, you have their enrichment activities. So as what I have said in the orientation, that you need to answer them because they will be graded accordingly. Now, there are two enrichment activities which you're going to answer. So the first one is all you need to do is to determine the research design for each research problem. So you only need to write letters. So it's A for exploratory, B for descriptive, and C for causal. So for number one, a description of how parents feel about the K to 12 program implementation. So is it something to be explored? Is it something that little information has been published? So if yes, then the answer is exploratory. But if not, so you may choose two choices. So here, for descriptive, will it describe the parents, how the parents feel about the K to 12 program? So you already have there a clue, no, a description. So I think you know the already the answer. So for causal again, it tries to identify the cause and effect relationship between two dissimilar situations. So you have there five items. So you always have you just have to think if it's something to be explored or is it something simply describing or does it identify the cause and effect relationship. Now, for enrichment activity number two, all you need to do is you're going to um, compare probability and non-probability sampling. So for probability, the key there is randomization. So when you say randomization, you're giving equal chance you're giving equal chance to everyone that they will be able to join in your research study. So you're giving them equal chance, and that is what we mean by randomization. For non-probability, you are just simply choosing someone who will be part of your research study. So for the selective process, how do you select respondents in the probability sampling, which you already have discussed? And how do you select respondents in the non-probability sampling? No, so there are four. So we already have discussed that one. Now, for the research design for probability sampling, which of the design um, is most appropriate when you conduct probability sampling and for non-probability sampling? Now, the presence of bias, which do you think of the two has the presence of bias. No? So is it in probability or non-probability sampling? Okay, so I think the answer is quite clear. No, because in probability, again, the researcher will have to choose the respondents based on randomization, while for non-probability, he will choose his or her respondents intentionally. So there, which of them has the presence of bias? So you decide. Then for generalizability, is it, if you're going to choose probability, can it be generalizable? Can, can it be generalizable? Or for non-probability, can it be not generalizable? So when you say generalizable, can it be applied to a number or to a group of people? No. Okay, so that is what you're going to do in your enrichment activities. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to contact me on my Facebook page. So I'd be very willing to answer your queries. Okay, so that's it. So thank you for watching. So don't forget to subscribe on my YouTube channel. So that is Teacher Louis. And you can also visit my website, teacherlouis at mystrikingly.com. In my Facebook page, Researcher Louis. My Instagram account, Louis Blinder 86, and my Twitter account, Halapadan Louis. So you may reach me on these social media platforms. And these are our references for today's video tutorial on quantitative research design, sampling procedure, and sample size. So I guess that's it. I hope you've learned something today, and I wish you all the best. Bye.